Good morning, soul rebels. Soul rebels with a major cause, and that cause is that we can drop the weight. There's no reason in the three worlds, my dears. That's the physical, that's the astral, and the causal worlds for us to have a burden, all right, to carry a burden. So we're gonna, as we address this idea of renunciation, it's the idea of renouncing. You think, oh, I gotta renounce, life and all the little entitlements that I still love to do and things like that. No, it's renouncing the weight, the weight, the burden of having the ego dictate, be a dictator. No wonder we have dictators going on in the nation and around the world, right? It's because the ego has its say, my dears, until today. How's that? Welcome to Ryan G. We have a Zoom user. I don't know who that is, Lisa, and Jim's not feeling so great today, so we'll send some healing light and love to Jim, and we'll wait for Mary and Alex to get on. They're usually pretty. Haven't seen Denny in a while. It's Vinny. It's Vinny. Hey, Vinny, man. Yeah, hope all is well, my friend. I think I saw an old picture of you pop up on the internet, but anyway, yeah, it's all good. Thanks, Vin, for coming on. Let's No, this isn't. This is really as we are in the last chapter of the Gita, and it is a Jim dandy already. It's just been renunciation in the terms of sannyasa, but you don't need to have to know what that means. It's just an aspect of renunciation and tyaga, which is another aspect of renunciation. We don't have to get into the detail. We just have to know that if you want the weight to be dropped, then today stream is going to help you a lot to have the right mindset for that and the right awareness for that. At least to remember, start to remember that this is our purpose in life. It's not to get caught up in this world, my dears. How many times do the great ones have to remind us of that? That this is not our home. Christ said it, Yogananda said it a lot, Rumi says it all the time, and the other great ones, that we do not want to get involved here, all right? As much as you want to, the highest way to go is not to, all right? All right, so we're going to start on the top of page 1018 this morning, and this is a carryover from verse 2. And this is chapter 18, believe it or not. But we're not rushing any of it because we love this Gita morning. And this Gita loves us. That means that we are Krishna and Christ devotees, right? The same thing. It's the same thing, my dear. Everything is the same thing: spirit, love, light, joy, peace. Does that give you a feeling of weight? Or oh no, I'm not feeling so good today, right? I don't have I'm not interested today to be happy. And I don't care about being happy today. You know how it goes as a human, my dears, all too well. But we're breaking that trend this time around as best we can, being on this Gita stream this morning. All right. So this is the top of page 1018 of your God Talks to Arjuna, volume 2, chapter 718, excuse me. It says the spiritual aspirant, and I do believe that's you and me, Benny and Narayan and Lisa and Jim. The spiritual aspirant who is filled with expectation. There it is. There's our entitlements, expectations. We deserve this, right? So how dare someone take this entitlement, this thing I like to do in this world, take it away from me? How dare they? It's mine. It's my precious. It's my precious, right? The spiritual aspirant who is filled with expectation. This is why we don't want to have great expectations, my dears. We don't want to have great expectations. We want to have no expectations. The spiritual aspirant who is filled with expectation. And here's the reason why we don't want to have expectations, at least one of the reasons, and that is that we may lose interest in God if the Lord does not readily manifest himself in response to our eager efforts. We may lose interest in God if the Lord does not, give us what we want, because we are entitled beings, and this is why we're in such a situation in life, right? This is why we don't know why we're not as happy as we want to be, and some days absolutely depressed and things like that, right? And it's such a roller coaster being in a body and being filled with expectations that somebody owes me something. Well, in the divine sense, you bet God owes you bliss. God owes you joy. God owes you all these things, and he's willing to hand it over to you today. The deed, the deed to happiness, the deed to feeling at peace, the deed to feeling empowered and sovereign leader of thyself, not waiting for the world to change for me. All right? So the spiritual aspirant who's filled with expectation may lose, she or he just may lose interest in God if the Lord does not do what you want him to do, or the Lord does not readily manifest himself in response to our eager efforts, or we should say our meager eager efforts, right? Because they might not be all that strong or consistent. Not yet, anyway. But the tiagi, that's another word for this renunciation. But the tiagi, unconcerned with results. See, here's someone who does not have expectations and is not concerned about whether I had a good meditation or a restless meditation this morning. He's not concerned either way, because it's not about a result. It's about the intensity and the purity and humility of our effort, my dear, that we do this for love's sake and for love's sake alone. We're not doing it for any other reason, not to be liberated, not to be, a great yogi or whatever. We're not doing that. We're not doing this for that. We're doing it out of love, ideally. But the Tyagi, unconcerned results, remains. So the Tyagi or the Sannyasi or the renunciate, unconcerned with results, remains unaffected by even bitter fruits. Unaffected. So you make all this effort and it seems like there's just and you start want to taste the fruit and it's bitter. What is the fruit of my labors? Well, what am I getting out of this? Which a typical human kind of a consciousness to have. Well, what am I getting out of this? I'm seeming to do all the work. God's never been responding to me, or doesn't even seem to care about my troubles and burdens and entitlements. But anyway, this sannyas, or this renunciate, is unaffected by even bitter fruits. Get a load of this, of unsuccessful efforts. He's unconcerned. Unsuccessful. Wow. That's a little strike to the ego, isn't it? The ego wants you to think that you're making progress, right? That you're getting your rewards or whatever. But the best mindset to have is that I'm concerned about all results, and especially those unsuccessful endeavors. Isn't that a sense of freedom to you, my dears? That we're not needing to have a result, right? That this is the least thing it's about. It's about our willingness to surrender the whole human package, the whole human mentality, the whole human upsets, the whole human expectations, the whole human entitlements, all of it needs to go, my dears, to be dropped. Drop the weight, let it go. Quit going to the gym. If you go to the gym, go to the heart gym and really, really, really devote yourself to this. Devote yourself without any expectation at all. No expectations at all. So that renunciate, the true renunciate who is not concerned about any results or even unsuccessful endeavors, continues to seek God and to long for him more earnestly. See, you wonder what you're up to today? How about more longing for God? How about the intimacy of a union with the divine by surrendering all the rest of it? And so you can rest in the infinite bliss unmanifest, right? So that successful or unsuccessful, who doesn't care about results, renunciate, continues to seek God and to long for him more earnestly, whether or whether or not there is a satisfying response. Dang, we've been entitled. Dang, we've been hoodwinked in this nation, probably all nations, in this world, this outer world, this material world. We all been hoodwinked thinking that this is something that I is mine. That is mine. I'm here, Lord. Now give me all the playthings that I want, and I may bargain with you and give you some of my love. Oh well, don't mind me today, my dears. Let's just continue to seek God and to long for him more earnestly, whether or not there is a satisfying response, okay? Such increased mental urgency to know God. Wow. An increased, how about this, Benny? An increased mental urgency today to be in that union, to be surrendered in love. All these sweet things that you hear about as spiritual awakenings and such, right? Let's just see if we can have an increased mental urgency to know God, because that increased mental urgency, I should have called this stream intense mental urgency. I called it the imminence of God, but that is the same as increased mental urgency, is the imminence that God is everything, everyone, everywhere, right? That God is the only reality. That's increased mental urgency. So that title stands up, the imminence of God. Don't forget the imminence of God. Such increased mental urgency to know God is not a binding desire for the fruits of action. On the contrary, it's not just this great need that we have for a certain result type of thing. This desire, my great enemy, with his soldiers surrounding me, is giving me lots of trouble. Oh my Lord, one of Sri Yukteswar's favorite song, desire, my great enemy, right? So we don't have those kinds of desires. Let's see if we can let go of some of those desires for these outward perks, but they never satisfy. That's the problem. And that's the depression that we feel. They never satisfy. Ever fed, never satisfied. Never fed, ever satisfied. Wow, that's a quote from Yogananda. I haven't used that in a long time. Never fed. These cravings for this outward show, this outward, trinkets, the fake the baubles of this material world, right? Never fed, they're ever satisfied, but ever fed, never satisfied. Wow. So God is not a binding desire. God is not Such increased mental urgency to know God is not a binding desire for the fruits of action. On the contrary, any action, here we go, that concentrates the mind on God. Now, God to me is a love affair. To me, it's sweetness. It's having all the fulfillment that you want in life, but to have it be the real deal and not the bauble, not the fake show, the fake news. God is not a bind, is this the urgency, this increased mental urgency to know God is not a binding desire for the fruits of action. On the contrary, any action that concentrates the mind on God releases the adherent from the bondage of delusion. You don't hear that word as like the devotee, you hear devotee. The adherent, Yogananda uses in this case. That on the contrary, any action that concentrates the mind on God releases the adherent or the yogi or the yogini or the aspirant from the bondage of delusion. It releases us. The weight is dropped and the lightness is felt and the light appears, my dears, from the bondage of delusion. So the principles of this renunciation, sannyasa and tyaga, develop to their highest metaphysical application. So you do not give a hoot about a result. You're not here for a result. What a relief. What a relief. What are we craving? I think this idea of the increased mental urgency to know God is a great craving, and it doesn't have any ramifications. It doesn't have any downside. No downside, my dears. It's the best deal in the universe is to make a pact with the divine God, a greater increased mental urgency today, to be loving, to be in a loving union, right? How about that? In a sweet divine romance. How does that? How's that for something that might satisfy you for good? Huh? A divine romance where you're just completely swallowed up in the real deal divine union with love itself. How's that? Would that make up for all the time that we didn't get the trinkets or the baubles that we wanted, or we did and we got mad because of it? Then the more you get involved with matter, the madder you're going to get. So the principles of renunciation develop to their highest metaphysical application. Oh, I just see that Mary and Alex made it. Awesome. We're on a tear here this morning, Mary. If you I just noticed that you came on, so yay, I'm so glad you're here. This is huge today. It's huge, but it's always huge. The possibilities we have, undreamed of possibilities, Yogananda uses that term. Undreamed of possibilities today. And we say that we're stuck, and we say that we don't have something that we don't, that would make us a little happier today, right? Do we really need the baubles, the fake jewelry, to think that everything is going to go okay in this physical world? Oh my God. Anyway, the principles of renunciation developed to their highest metaphysical application define the consummate. And what if we are a consummate renunciate, a consummate, that all we do is to enjoy the letting go of the weight of living as a human, or thinking like a human, acting like a human, you know, and we put our highest metaphysical application into the consummate renunciation, as one who has abandoned This is huge. This is huge. Would you like to be a consummate renunciate, letting go of all the pain, all the sorrow, all the broken heart, all the disappointment, all the fear, all the worry? Would you be would you want to be instead a consummate renunciation as one who has abandoned all that? Abandoned in his consciousness the ego, edging God out. That good old ego, great teacher, tell you one day it's gonna so depress us that we say that's enough of that. This could be the day. Right now could be the moment. We abandon in our consciousness. So we just not interested. You know, that's nonviolence. That's Gandhi's way. Just don't be interested in the false news. Don't be interested in the things that make you sad, right? You be a renunciate of those, and so that you can abandon in your consciousness the ego and its delusive longings and attachments. Its delusive longings and attachments. Is this another life of that? What? It's go. Have you noticed how fast time is going? We're almost into summer. Wow. And we're into maybe the storm of delusive longings and attachments still. I'm just adding that. But we abandon, let's say we're abandoning ship now. We're abandoning the false way to go in this existence. We're abandoning the human entitlements. We're abandoning all the things that we still desire, which is our great enemy, is giving us lots of trouble. Oh, my Lord, that enemy I will deceive, remaining in my castle of peace. Night and day, in thy joy, O Lord. Night and day, in thy joy, O Lord. One of Sri Yukteswar's favorite songs. Chanted it, and the master chanted it in the ashram of Sri Yukteswar over and over again. Desire, my great enemy, it's giving me lots of trouble, but that enemy I will deceive, remaining in my castle of peace, night and day, in thy joy, O Lord. That'll do it. That's the abandoning the consciousness of the ego and its delusive longings and attachment. And instead, we have become anchored in the soul consciousness. We have become anchored in the soul consciousness of oneness with God, the immanence of God. That's why I entitled this stream today, The Immanence of God, so that we can become anchored in the immanence or the consciousness of oneness with God, the soul reality. The soul reality. Yeah, the soul reality. The soul gift. This is actually a quote from Yogananda, and it just came to me that I made a song out of it. The soul gift a human being may present to the infinite giver, to the infinite giver is love, love is love, love, love. And then not to give that love to God is to waste our friggin' time here, right? To bestow that gift on God, or miserly to withhold it, is man's only sovereign power, is man's only sovereign power. All else already belongs to the maker of heaven and earth. All else already belongs To the maker of heaven and earth, to the maker of heaven and earth, to the maker of heaven and earth, to the maker of heaven and earth. There it is. There it is. That's just fun to know that a song that I put music, a little music to, and a quote from Yogananda just pops up out of the blue. Divine Mother sees me through. Yes, she does. Wow. So instead of all the shenanigans going on in the world, my dears, we become anchored in the soul consciousness of oneness with God, the immanence of that oneness with God, because that's what we are. And that's the great duality dream delusion we talk about, not to think that, or not to, you know, be increased mental urgency for that, rather than, kind of just having just another ordinary human collapse today, right? Right? Of disappointment, of disappointment. So in meditation, the renunciate watches the mind go deep in communion with God, this immanence of your union with God. It's a fact. I mean, it's not a fact, it's a reality, my dears. This world is a fact, and facts are not truth. So in meditation, the renunciant watches the mind go deep in communion with God. So in meditation, we, as the soul waking up, watches the mind go deep in communion with God, watches it, and then emerge for him. So you go deep in this union, communion, this love affair with God in your meditation, and you emerge from God again after the meditation into the domain of thoughts and sensations. But listen, here's the difference. Once you're done with your meditation, you're back to the thoughts and sensations. But here's the difference in being a renunciate or a human ego driven person. And that is that when the thoughts and sensations come in after that meditation of union with God, we becoming oblivious of God or losing its concentration on Him. Again, if we can have that communion with God and then emerge from Him again into the domain of thoughts and sensations without becoming oblivious of Him. So we're back into the daily grind after our meditation, but we're not oblivious of God. All right? Or losing our concentration on Him. All right? This is the consummate yogi, the consummate devotee, the constant lover of love, the sole gift a human being can present to the infinite giver is love. Yeah, we just come right back to our concentration on Him. Even when the mind roams in distracting thoughts and sensations, these rouse no desires in the sannyasi, the tyagi, the renunciant. These rouse no desires. Pranayam be thy religion. Pranayam will give thee salvation. Pranayam is the wishing tree. More from that song, Desire My Great Enemy, right? Yeah. Night and day, oh night and day, in thy joy, O Lord. Night and day, oh night and day. Pranayam. In that song, that chant, the one who wrote that, we don't know who it is, but Sri Yukteswar loved it and sang it, and so did Yogananda and all the other yogis that were in his ashram. And now the devotees worldwide sing that song. That pranayam means God in that song. So when it says pranayam is the wishing tree, pranayam is creator Lord, Pranayam is the cosmic world. Yeah. That enemy I will deceive, remaining in my castle of peace. So even when the mind roams in distracting thoughts and sensations, these rouse no desires in the renunciant or the sannyasi or the tyagi. Those are all words for renunciant. The accomplished tyagi, the accomplished tyagi or renunciant is wholly concentrated in ecstasy with God. No, you wonder, well, what's the upside of all this, right? Here we are battling again another day on this earth with the ego temptations, the ego misinformation, the ego's lies, and things like that. And here we're talking about the opposite, that we're wholly concentrated on ecstasy with the immanence of God. How's that? How's that for a switch? Huh? What a switch that is, isn't it, my dears? So, having abandoned all identification, just be aware of the fruits that you're going to be searching for today, the fruits of a result, my dears. Because having abandoned all identification with the fruits or efforts of this material being, of my material being, my mind does not at all roam in restless thoughts, bodily sensations, or material surroundings. What? The mind don't go there. We don't go there no more. We don't go there. Vinny, you picked a nice stream today, but I don't know if you're still on. Maybe it wasn't in the cards for you. You stay on the Zoom user, Vinny. All right. Wow. But our mind does not roam in restless thoughts, bodily sensations, or material surroundings. Well, what are we going to do then in this world if we're not thinking, if we're not in sensations and material surroundings, totally occupied? What are we going to do? We're going to be in love, baby. We're going to love the soul gift, the giver of all the gifts. And we're going to love him, her, it, source, spirit in a way that is a consummate abandonment of all earthly shenanigans. All right. Thus, thus does the yogi and yogini who has attained perfect inner renunciation of desireful motivations. I just think it's rather, Yogananda just isn't messing around. This is chapter 18, and he said and it said earlier on that this last chapter is a condensation of everything and all those other chapters that we studied. So it's not messing around here. It's just like, here it is, here it is, here it is. At least we have, uh, we get to hear it. That's it. That's bravery. That's bravery, my dears, for you to even be here. So good job, because you're on your way to attaining perfect inner renunciation of desireful motivations and of the fruits of actions. Engage in the performance of good actions and meditative actions in a state of conscious ecstasy to please God alone. So you want to attain that perfect inner renunciation of the desireful motivations and the fruits of actions by engaging in the performance of good actions and meditative actions in a state of conscious ecstasy to please God alone. That's our option. That's what we're choosing. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are choosing. It means that your soul chooses. You might want to just check in, and the ego will tell you something really, really powerfully, um, powerfully the other way, and it might make it sound sweet and more more than, that you can still have your cake and eat it too, kind of thing. All right. So, such a renunciant, the one who is performing good actions and meditative actions in a state of conscious ecstasy to please God alone, means that you are a constant lover and beloved of love. Such a renunciant beholds the Lord and not his ego. See, this is just really core stuff. Every sentence almost that we're reading today. Wow. Such a renunciant beholds the Lord, not his ego, as the doer. Things we've heard before. Such a renunciant holds the Lord, not his ego, as the doer of all physical. So who's doing you today? Huh? The ego or the soul self? In this case, a consummate renunciant beholds the Lord and not his ego as the doer of all physical, mental, and spiritual actions, and as the recipient. Such a renunciant beholds the Lord and not his ego as the doer of all physical, mental, and spiritual actions. And who's the recipient of all the fruits thereof? Is it the ego or is it God? It says that the doer of all physical, mental, and spiritual actions is God alone, and as the recipient. Because God is you. You are God. Everything is God. So the one who deserves the fruits is the one who bakes the fruit. Huh? God himself. The Lord himself gets everything of us. Gets everything. That's how you be happy. Everything. You know? That's why Yogananda has that prayer for food. Bless this food, make it holy, let no impurity or greed defile it. The food comes from thee, it is to build thy temple. Spiritualize it, spirit to spirit goes. I'm the petal of thy manifestation, but thou art the whole flower, all life, beauty, and loveliness. Permeate my soul with the fragrance of thy presence. That's just a little prayer before food of Yogananda's. So that food, like in the poem God, God, um, from the depths of silence as I ascend the spiral stairway of wakefulness. And as I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, as I break my fast, and so you have your first food of the day, I mentally say, God, God, God. And as I break my fast of nightly separation from thee, I mentally say, God, 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 as I eat my food. God, 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 as I eat my food. It's crazy when the realizations happens for all of us more, my dears, that this is the real deal, and we're really deep in it right now. We're really deep in the real deal right now. God alone. The ego out. Thanks for the memories. The person who is identified with the ego and its desires for and attachments to the fruits of actions is confined in the perception of material activity going on within and around him. The renunciant, whose mind remains anchored in God, feels all bodily and cosmic activities as workings of the divine intelligence, God's immanence. Is all this divine intelligence. The cosmic activities as workings of the divine intelligence. Here's our subject for this morning. I'll read this sentence again at the beginning. The renunciant whose mind remains anchored in God feels all bodily and cosmic activities as workings of the divine intelligence, the immanence of God that is omnipresent in the created realm and in all beings. The immanence of God that is omnipresent in the created realms and in all beings. Wow, that was verse 2 of this chapter 18, my dears. The whole page here on page 1018, if you have your book out. Yeah, wow. I'll tell you, that's loaded. This this page 1018, it's loaded. I mean, this could be just something that you look at every day. You know, if the ego has hold of you, you won't want to look at this every day. So we might need to make a soul effort to look at this every day, because the last thing the ego wants is for you to look at this every day, because that means the end of the ego, and the ego is to the ego, that's a catastrophe that he doesn't have charge of you. Wow. So it's going to do its best to keep you away from this page 1018. All right, my dears. So we're moving on, and there's verses 3 to 6. 3 to 6. And they're all lumped together. All right. So I don't know, because we're getting a little closer to our other stream, the Sacred Soul Meditation. Would love to see you all on there from time to time, which I do. So thank you very much for your presence. What a present is your presence, my dears. But maybe I'll give you just this verse 3. See, let's just see where we're heading in this chapter, because this page that I just mentioned, 1018, verse 2, is so loaded. You know, we talked right in the beginning. Let's dump the weight, the burden. Let's just let it drop off of us, didn't we? And it was for sure this whole page 1018 just fit the bill of exactly probably one of the most important pages. Of course, they all are. But at this time, in this climb that we're in, this is so core, man and woman. So core, right? So, but let's just see what this verse 3 says as we tune it in for next week. How's that, my dears? Verse 3. Some philosophers say that all work should be forsaken as full of taint. Others declare that the activities of yajna, or holy fire rite, dana, philanthropy, and tapa, self-discipline, ought not to be abandoned. All right, so then the pundits get to work here. Some philosophers say that all work should be forsaken as full of taint. And I think when we get to the commentary, Yogananda said that's a bunch of hooey, but we'll see. Because we got action, we got to be in action in this life, my dears. We've got to use that Kriya Yoga and that action to do everything we can in our soul power to outwit the enemy, you know, and get into that castle of peace night and day in thy joy, O Lord. So here the pundits are going to fight it out in this verse 3. Some philosophers say that all work should be forsaken as full of taint. You make the call. Do you agree with that camp? Or do you agree with this camp? Others declare that the activities of yajna, which is the holy sacred fire rite, and dana, philanthropy, and tapa, self-discipline, ought not to be abandoned. I don't know. I think I go with that last one for me. Anyway, Yeah. Oh, you got to hear 4. Let me tease you this once more. Consequently, this is verse 4. Consequently, understand from me, says Krishna, the ultimate truth about renunciation. Ooh, oh, best of the Bharatas, Arjuna, for renunciation has been spoken of as consisting of 3 kinds. O tiger, a man among men. He calls Arjuna all these things, tiger among men. I don't remember that one, right? And in verse 5, because now it's a story, right? O tiger among men. Renunciation has been spoken of as consisting of 3 kinds. 5, verse 5, the action involved in you. Nah, I'm going to leave it there because that's enough teasing for the next week, my dears. But I'll make a mock. I know where we're going. Verse 3 next week. All right. So, my dears, thank you so much for jumping on. I can't tell you how to share this. You get the rewards when you share truth. Lisa, I hope that was worth your efforts though to be here this morning when your hubby's not feeling so great. So thank you so much for being here, Narayan. Yeah, and Mary and Alex. Thank you so much. And I hope this registers in your deepest self what we talked about. Because who wants to keep on suffering here in this group? Who wants to keep kidding ourselves in this group? Right? None of us probably. So we had Vinny on for a while. God bless you, my brother. And you, Narayan, heaps and heaps of love and light. And to you, Mary and Alex, heaps and heaps of love and light. Lisa and Jim, heaps and heaps of love and light. And to our world, ongoing, heaps and heaps of love and light. And that is that. And so it be forever and forever. Namaste, my dears. I love you all very, very much. Aho.